Things just got worse and worse and worse as the night went on. Again, valiant effort down the stretch for the Bucs. Just too little, too late. Let's go down and let's see what Coach Fletch and the rest of the crew has to say. As always, go Bulls. So let's head into the locker room right now and see what the guys have to say about that one. Wow. Where do the Buccaneers go from here? What an incredible atmosphere. What a good win for the Tampa Bay Lightning. They snapped a 7-game winning streak. How we feeling, Bucs Nation? It's time to party, baby.
Happy Wednesday, everybody, and welcome to the Recher podcast, here with you every weekday at noon, Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter /X. Hope everybody's having a wonderful week. It's hump day, so we're halfway there, folks. And we got a lot of things to get into today. Make sure you follow me on all social media platforms at Recher. Facebook. We're talking YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok. I am everywhere, and you can see it, especially in the last couple of days with a bunch of these videos that I've been pumping out. Especially the one last night. We didn't there. I know a couple of people came out and said, "Oh, there was some boos," but I didn't really hear any booing during the national anthem last night at Amalie Arena as the Ottawa Senators were in town. We saw it the night before in Nashville. Predators fans were doing that, but regardless of whose fault it is, regardless if it's right or wrong, I put it out on video, and it has stirred a lot of controversy and a lot of conversation today, whether it has to do with sports or politics, what have you, but it is up there. I didn't hear many boos, if at all, last night at Amalie Arena. Make sure you like and subscribe on YouTube. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so, and let everybody know. Share the word, the Recher podcast, every day at noon right here in the Tampa Bay area. You don't know where I'll be. Today I'm home, but I might be doing the show from Amalie Arena. I might be doing the show from USF. I might be doing the show from other kind of tournaments and whatever the hell's going on. But that's how we roll. All Tampa Bay, all the time. All right. Today on the program, really good show. Of course, we got guests that nobody else is going to have. 12:30 today, Jayden Reid is going to join us, USF basketball guard. JR, fellow Long Islander like myself, was on the team last year with Coach Amir Abdur Rahim, and he really took his game to the next level. And even this year, you can see it becoming more of a scorer. Tomorrow night at the Yuengling Center, the American Athletic Conference and USF are going to get together to honor and commemorate the late, great Amir Abdur Rahim. It is the Love Wins Whiteout Night. If you're going to go to a USF game this year, tomorrow night is the time to go. Get there. There's going to be white shirts for you. Get there. We got to support Amir. He was a guy that really just changed how we viewed basketball here in the Tampa Bay area. It was the home for Tampa Bay hoops, and we got to get out there and we got to support. Go usfbulls.com. Go get your tickets. I'll be there in attendance as well. I don't know if media members are allowed to wear the white shirt, but I'll see what I can do. But yeah, it's going to be great. Rich Hollenberg, our pal, is going to be on the call with the great Tom Crean, who was one of the mentors for our guy Amir Abdur Rahim. So Jayden's going to join us at 12:30 to talk about the season so far, and also, the whole thing with Amir and how the team's been able to deal with it and what tomorrow night is going to look like. At 1 o'clock, Erik Erlendsson, lightninginsider.com, joins us for his weekly visit. What happened last night at Amalie Arena, a Nick Paul update, as well as his idea on what the trade deadline is going to look like March 7th. It'll be here before you know it. And then 1:30, the club president of our Tampa Bay Rowdies right here, Ryan Helfrick, joins us, a new netminder, new goalkeeper signed today. What does he bring to the table? The Rowdies have such an incredible success rate when it comes to keepers. There's no doubt in my mind that whoever the hell they're going to bring in is going to kick ass for a year or two and then probably ply his trade in the MLS or in another division. But really, really great stuff there. A big shout out to everybody. David Terry, Dolan. I appreciate everybody for tuning in. As always, you guys are the best. We're going to talk some Buccaneers in a bit, but let's start talking about the Tampa Bay Lightning last night and what we saw in that game. A 4-3 win for the Bolts. And when you watch this team in that first period, you're going up against an Ottawa Senators team that the night before was playing the Nashville Predators. So on that second half of that back-to-back, you got to wear him down. You got to stay with him. You got to overwhelm him. And that's what the Lightning were able to do in the first period. And I think as the game went on, you saw like Ottawa wasn't giving in. They weren't giving in. And good on the Lightning. You get goals from guys like Luke Glendening, who you don't see a lot of goals from. Of course, Kucherov firing that absolute laser on the power play. That was shoot the puck, right? Good things happen when you shoot the puck. Then Brandon Hagel from the high slot. When Brandon Hagel is firing those shots on net, that's kind of a good indicator with this team of, hey, good things are going to happen because he scores. He scores from there. And it's just a quick, tricky release that he has. It's not one of those things where he's actually, he's this big cannon, and he's a very precise shooter. And I just wish he would do it more often. And then we saw something we don't see all the time. Ryan McDonagh, his second goal of the year, he races out of the penalty box. He took a rare penalty, and he finds the open net to put the Lightning ahead 4-2. They gave up another goal. Got a little hairy there at the end, but they hung on for the 2 points. And when you're playing a team in the division like the Ottawa Senators, you don't want to go to overtime. You don't want them to have any points. The Bolts getting 2, Ottawa getting 0. Meant a lot last night. And if you missed my article on Ryan McDonagh, I was posting again today and last night. Head on over to lightning.nhl.com. I just posted on my social media as well, so you can go check that out and let me know what you think on my article on why the Lightning made it right bringing Ryan McDonagh back into the fold, because I think you can tell that this team looks a lot better with him on that blue line with Erik Erlendsson. And let's not forget about the play of Andrei Vasilevskiy either. Vasi is now top 5 or 6 in both save percentage and goals against. I mean, listen, man, there's a lot of talk about who the Vezina Trophy winner is going to be. It's probably going to be Connor Hellebuyck. His numbers are insane. But Vasi should probably be a finalist. And if he plays well down the stretch, and he's going to get some time off, Hellebuyck is not. He's going to be playing between the pipes for Team USA. Watch out for that second half of the year with Andrei Vasilevskiy and getting some love for the Vezina, because just think about it. The goals that they're scoring, they're good shots. They're against the grain with the screen. I mean, you can't blame Vasi for those. But last night, a right pad save, a bright pad save, a blocker save. Vasi looks sharp. He is back, and he is a guy that is really giving me some hope when it comes to this team as we get closer and closer to the postseason. Do they need to make a move? Yes. I think they need to bring in 1, if not 2 forwards and a defenseman. Now, does that mean via trade? Does that mean calling a guy up? I don't know, but this lineup needs to look a hell of a lot better if they want to make a deep run in the postseason. You have the top-end talent. You have guys like Braden Point and Nikita Kucherov and Hagel and Cirelli and Gensel and Hedman. I mentioned McDonagh and Chernak and also the goalie and Andrei Vasilevskiy. When you have that kind of core and that foundation, you can play with anybody. But as we know, it's the depth, because a lot of times that top-end talent cancels each other out, and you need the Gourds and the Goodrows and the Colemans like we've seen in the past. Those guys, Ross Colton coming up, scoring that game winner in the Stanley Cup final a couple of years ago. You need those depth pieces to come up big, and I really think the Lightning need to put their best foot forward, because them winning the Cup this year is a realistic thing because of that talent. And I understand they haven't played great and they haven't played consistent, but when you have those guys, and I can't stress this enough to a guy like Julian Breezewell. Hopefully you're listening, JBB. You have these guys right now in their prime, right? You're not looking at any of these guys like, wow, they're falling off. Wow, they're on the downside of their career. Right now, as we see it, when you have a top 3 goalie, when you have a top 5 defenseman, you have 2 top 10 or top 12 forwards, like you got to go. You got to push. You got to try to win another cup. It's great that they won back-to-back cups. You win another cup with this team. I mean, you're talking about a true dynasty. You're talking about a legacy that is going to live forever in the National Hockey League. God, that would be so great. And just selfishly, I want another boat parade. I know a lot of other people want another boat parade as well. Good news from today's optional skate. Our friend Gabby Shirley, the Lightning team reporter, let us know Nick Paul on the ice today, which is great. Because when it comes to that depth, Nick Paul is one of those guys. Nick Paul is a guy that can play center. He can play wing. He's tough as hell. And he left the game last night after playing only 3 shifts. Ridley Gregg went over there, got a piece of him, and it was a little surprising that we didn't see Nick Paul for the rest of the night. I didn't expect him to be on the ice today for the optional morning skate because of that, but he was, which is a positive sign for his availability tomorrow night against the Ottawa Senators, a very rare occasion where you're going back to back, obviously a day in between against the same opponent. But listen, divisional rival, get there, get another 2 points. You have 2 more games against people in your division, and then you have a nice break for the Four Nations face-off. It is important for the Bolts to finish this first part, I don't want to say first half, first part of their season on a high note, especially because of the guys that you're losing to the Four Nations. You know that Point and Cirelli and Hagel are going to go with Team Canada. You know Jake Gensel with the USA, and now Victor Hebben, and John Cooper and Julian Brisebois as well. So finish on a high note. All those other guys can take a rest, take a relaxation a bit, and just kind of chill out, because the second part of this season is going to be a sprint to the finish. And don't be surprised, and you heard it here first, don't be surprised if in the next 2 weeks you see the Tampa Bay Lightning make a move. Because Julian Brisebois does not like to wait till trade deadline day. He likes to get his business done early, and it's kind of like that balance when it comes to JBB. Right now, he's looking at the standings and going, damn, there's a lot of teams still in this. Because the less teams that are involved, the more sellers that are going to be on the market, the more opportunities they can go out there and make a deal. But when you have so many teams that have a chance at one of the wild cards, they're not going to be really selling off assets at this point. And you understand that. These teams are trying to win. But Julian's not going to wait until March 7th to get these deals done. He's going to try to make them as soon as possible. And you start looking at some of these teams, if they go on losing streaks, watch out and see if they start selling off some of their assets. I think Montreal is a good one. They're down to 55 points. Okay, 7th position out of 8th in the Atlantic, but not too far out of a playoff spot. They just won. They're, let me see here, 4-5-1 in their last 10. That could be a team I'm keeping an eye on. The Pittsburgh Penguins, the Philadelphia Flyers, the Buffalo Sabres. That's just in the Eastern Conference. Then out west, you look at maybe the Kraken. The Predators, do they start making a move? Man, they've lost 5 in a row now. The Blackhawks and the Sharks. Man, Nashville is a team that just did not work out, did it? My goodness, we feel bad for our guy Steven Stamkos, but Ryan O'Reilly and Marchessault and Yossi, there's just so many good players on that team, and there's just nothing that they could have done, or nothing. There's nothing that they could have done to foresee that this was going to turn out like this. And you wonder, if you start moving assets, do you start moving some of those veterans that you brought in? It was a risky move bringing in guys that were all, the Brady Shea, Marchessault, Stamkos, and it clearly hasn't worked. You have Philip Forsberg. Man, there's some talent there. Where did they go from here? I'm keeping an eye on Barrett Trotz and whatever the Preds do, because they kind of stand pat and figure, hey, if we come back next year, we have, they're similar to the Bolts where you have UC Saros, you have Roman Yossi. Do they stand pat and go, hey, let's just give it another go in 2025, 2026? Or do they start selling off some of those pieces here in the next couple of weeks? That's certainly a team to keep your eyes on. All right, so good news there for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Again, back in action tomorrow. I will not be at the game tomorrow. I will be at the Yangling Center celebrating the life of Amir Abdur Rahim. I cannot wait for that. That should be fantastic. All right, let's talk a little Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The big news yesterday was that Lightning assistant general manager Mike Greenberg has withdrawn his name from the Jacksonville Jaguars general manager search. And as we know, Liam Cohen left the Tampa Bay Bucs for the Jaguars. They were trying to poach a couple of coaches from the staff as well, trying to get offensive line coaches Kevin Carberry and Brian Picucci. The Buccaneers say no. And that's what you see a lot from teams in the National Football League. Like, you're not just going to allow these kind of things happen. These guys are under contract. So it's not a petty thing. We see this throughout the entire NFL. Mike Greenberg was the guy I know a lot of people were worried about losing, because especially after losing John Spytek and that whole crew that Jason Light has there in his front office. You know how close, how tight those guys are. There was a picture that they all took after the Buccaneers clinched the division title, and just the genuine look of happiness on their face in the locker room. And you could tell, like, it was just all hands on deck. We're all doing this together. But every good leader in sports has a good crew around him. And Jason Licht is no different. We can speak so much about Jason Licht and how he's learned from his past transgressions and how he's learned from what hasn't worked out so well. But you also put people around you that kind of check you too. Think about it. The people that often give you the best advice in your life, even if it's it hurts you, are your best friends, are your closest confidants. Jason Licht is no different. And Mike Greenberg, who has been a wizard with the Buccaneers cap situation. Part of the reason why the Tom Brady contract with those, dead cap years a couple of seasons after he left, part of the reason why that didn't cripple the Bucs is because of a guy like Mike Greenberg. The effort that he put in. He's just such a smart, such a knowledgeable guy. I think a lot of Bucs fans were resigned to the fact that going into this offseason, there was a really good chance that Mike Greenberg could go somewhere else and be a general manager, especially the New York Jets. This is a guy that, he's got close ties there. That wouldn't have been a surprise at all. You can't fault somebody for wanting to go home, especially when they've been here for as long as Mike Greenberg has. And it's just, he's been instrumental to the success of the Bucs. He's been here since 2010, starting as the team's player personnel assistant. And now the salary cap and the way that the Buccaneers were able to bring back some of the big names over the years. When you're thinking about bringing back guys like Mike Evans and Baker Mayfield and Antoine Winfield Jr. and Tristan Wirfs and working that whole thing out, he's a huge part of it. So to hear that, and I don't, and this is a great portion of the article written by Rick Stroud from the Tampa Bay Times, I don't look at this like, haha, Jacksonville sucks. I think there's a lot of people that look at Jacksonville, and with Liam Cohen there's an excitement level. There's an excitement with having a coach like Liam Cohen, a quarterback in Trevor Lawrence, and an owner that's willing to spend whatever it takes for you to be successful. I think there's a lot of people out there that are looking at Jacksonville like, okay, let's see what we can do. But Mike Greenberg looked at his situation and his loyalty with the Buccaneers, and you have to wonder what his future looks like in Tampa Bay. Does Jason Licht at some point get promoted to some semblance of like a president type role, and Mike Greenberg gets elevated to the general manager position? I wouldn't be surprised by that at all. You got to keep both those guys here. But we're not seeing that, and he's sticking with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, I want to give you guys a peace of mind, kind of a part of this whole situation, and this has to go with social media and why you have to be really careful with who you get your information from. So there's this guy on Twitter. His name is Yardline Yoda. And this guy did a really good job of being on top of the whole Jacksonville Jaguars story with Liam Cohen saying the door is still open, blah, blah, blah. Hey, more power to you, right? If you're a guy that has insight, if you're a guy that has a source, that's fine, okay? But you also have to be aware that if you are not going to put your name on things, as soon as you put out information that can be questioned, you lose your credibility a lot faster than somebody like myself. And I'm not a big source guy. I'm not a big guy that's going to go out there and say, I heard this, I heard that. If I tell you something, it's fact, 100%. Not a source told me. I'm going to tell you this is what happened. This is what I know. This isn't speculation. This is legit. And part of the reason why you trust me is because you know my name and you know every day at noon I'm going to be here talking about it. I can't hide. So you shout out this guy like Yardline Yoda. I said, man, good for you. He started making some comments about people in Tampa and things like that. All right, whatever. And then he comes out with this yesterday. Bucs GM Jason Licht told assistant general manager Mike Greenberg that he better be sure that the Jaguars are hiring him for their GM spot, insinuating he wouldn't be welcome back if he took the interview and didn't get the job. More bad practice by the Bucs. And you see there, he wasn't getting the job anyway. And then you look down here at the bottom, who responded to this tweet but Buccaneers general manager Jason Licht. Now, I ask you guys out there, does that sound like something that Jason Licht would do? Does that sound like our guy here that has been willing to just like, hey, go do if you got a better job? And listen, the Buccaneers had no issues with Liam Cohen going to interview with the Jacksonville Jaguars. They knew that this was a possibility. They had no issue with Dave Canales doing it as well. But after Liam said that he wasn't going there, he said, all right, cool. We're giving you everything that you want. Just, don't take another interview with them, right? I don't think that's really unreasonable. And I truly believe if Liam Cohen went back to Jason Light and was like, hey, the situation changed. The situation changed there in Jacksonville. Trent Baalke is out. I know I said I wasn't going to, but hey, I'm going to go and see if this is a good fit for me. Knowing Jason, what he would probably say? Hey, man, you got to do what's best for you, and you got to do what's best for your family. But he never gave Jason that choice. So you're telling me that the track record this guy has for letting people go and achieve their dreams and take a step up and get a promotion, that he's going to treat a guy that he's been with for almost 15 years like that? I don't think so. I don't think so at all. So be careful who you get your information from on social media, because guys like this, they may get things right. Every once in a while, Yardline Yoda might be spot on. He may get something right. This reminds me of another guy. Remember Jameis 1 of 1? Do you guys know who Jameis 1 of 1 is? You could probably go check him out on social media. But this was a person, because we don't know if it's a guy or girl, but this is a person that used to go online and used to dispute every single negative thing about Jameis Winston. Some of them were actually true. Some of it was actually really good stuff. But once again, if you are a person on social media that wants to be this type of guy or gal, if you want to be one of these people that is going to be a contrarian, that is going to be a person that is going to troll people, if you're just going to live behind the veil of the interwebs, behind a Twitter handle that doesn't reveal who you really are, you don't have as much credibility as you think you do. You just don't. Because what happens when something goes wrong? What happens when you say something and it doesn't come to fruition? You could just go hide. There's no hiding if I say something. Last year when I went off on Mikhail Sergachev and the Lightning not playing well, I couldn't go run and hide because my name was Lightning Fan 5723. Couldn't do that. So nowadays, and listen, I really enjoy that people can have a voice and people can comment on things and free speech and to be able to go out there and people value their privacy. I get that. Okay. But once you start with whether it's hateful rhetoric, whether it's something where you're posing on trying to throw people off the scent of certain things, or you're trying to proclaim that you're a connoisseur of a subject, that you're an expert on some certain situation, if you don't put your name on it, then people aren't going to buy what you're selling. And it only takes one time. I can get something wrong. It's not just me, but anybody that makes a mistake when you're in the sports media, anybody that makes a mistake on something, you can go out there and you can go the very next day or the next time that you have a show or the next time you make a video and you can put your hand up and be like, I screwed up. I was wrong. It happens. Nobody's right 100% of the time. But the one thing that you know is that if I do make a mistake, I'm not going to run. I said NC State was going to be winners of the ACC this year. I was dead wrong. But hey, it happens. Sometimes you're going to get predictions incorrect. But the fact that certain people on the internet want to take credit that there's some insider or that they have these scoops, but they're not willing to put their name on it, I'm sorry. I'm barely going to pay you any attention. This energy that I put forth is more of a cautionary tale for the people that are tuning into the show today rather than highlighting this guy, because more than likely I'm not ever going to talk about Yardline Yoda or Jameis 101 ever again on this program. But just be careful out there who you get your information from. And then, oh yeah, when you go back and look at this whole situation with Jason Light going online and refuting this and that this happens, just keep looking, keep scrolling down. Guess who else refuted it? Jenna Lane from ESPN, Rick Stroud from the Tampa Bay Times. Breaking news here when it comes to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Bucs are set to hire Charlie Strong as their new defensive line coach. This is from Ian Rappaport. And we know Charlie from USF, Louisville, Texas. He spent last season with Alabama as an analyst, back in the NFL for the first time since 2021 when he was with the Jacksonville Jaguars. How about that? So you hear it right here on the Jay Recher podcast. First, Charlie Strong, the 64-year-old coach that, again, we know very well here in the Tampa Bay area from his time leading the USF Bulls. He is back in the Bay. He'll be back coaching at Raymond James Stadium with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Wow, I did not see that coming. A great guy, and I think when you look at him and his addition to the team, a guy that Todd Bowles has known for a very long time and a wealth of knowledge. And we'll see if he helps guys like Vita Vea and also a guy like Kalijah Kancey. But wow, that is something that I did not expect to see. Oh, wow. Who would have thought? Who would have thought? Good stuff. So Charlie Strong takes over for Casey Rogers, a longtime assistant of Todd Bowles, who went up to Detroit to take that job with the Lions. So, wow, Charlie Strong. I would have never thought I'd see the day where Charlie Strong will be back at Raymond James coaching one of our teams here in Tampa Bay. But that's exactly what we've gotten today from Ian Rappaport. Charlie Strong back in Tampa Bay. Wow. Charlie back to the Bay. Let's go. Didn't really work out here at USF as a head coach. Definitely did not. But, hey, if you are Todd Bowles and you're looking to make a switch and you're looking to bring in a guy that has experience around, I mean, just listen to all the places that Charlie Strong has been. Florida, Texas A&M, Southern Illinois, Ole Miss, Notre Dame, South Carolina. I mean, Florida, he did everything. Defensive coordinator, interim head coach, assistant head coach, co-DC, linebackers coach, Louisville, Texas, USF, Bama, Jaguars, Miami. I mean, this guy has been around the country working with some of the greatest minds in all of football. So I'm excited that he's back here in the Tampa Bay area, a really good man, and hopefully he can help this D-line take their game to the next level. How do you guys feel about Charlie Strong coming home? How do you feel about Charlie Strong, the former USF head football coach, now coaching the defensive line with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Good to see a familiar face, though, here in the Bay. Speaking of USF, Jayden Reid is going to join us here momentarily. Make sure you follow me on all social media platforms. This is just like so cool to see how many people have followed me recently. Again, at Jay Recher, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, as well as liking and subscribing on YouTube. Dolan says, okay, familiar name, Charlie Strong, good deal. That's why I listen more to Pewter Reports and yourself. That's a good one. You got that right. Check out my friends at Pewter Report. I'm sure they're going to be doing a podcast here soon. Edwin also says that I think it's a good move in the right direction. The Buccaneers need fortification. They do. They need, whether it's new coaches, new players, just a new mindset, a new game plan altogether. They need to be a defense like we saw a couple of years ago that could get off the field on third down and can really strike fear in opposing offenses through the National Football League. The offense carried the water. They did such a great job with Baker and the crew. The majority of those guys are going to be coming back. We're looking at Ben Bredeson. We're looking at Chris Godwin, seeing if those guys are going to return to the fold. I think at least Chris Godwin will. Not sure about Ben Bredeson, but defensively, need stronger pass rush. You need more guys in the interior linebacker position. And then the corners. You need guys that are going to be able to lock down the opposing wide receivers and really thwart the other team's offense. All right, let's bring him in. A guy that you all know very well. Guard for the USF men's basketball team and a fellow Long Islander like myself, the one and only Jayden Reid. Jay, what's going on, man? How are you?
What's going on? How you doing?
I'm doing well. Jay and Jay here, Westbury and Central Islip here together, again, representing Long Island. I don't know if you remember this, but last year my mom and dad were in town from Long Island, and during shoot around, he just like yelled at you like, Long Island, and you turned around and you dapped him up, and my dad thought it was like the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, I definitely remember that.
Nice, yeah, that's great, man. Thank you, because actually they're coming down this weekend too. But they've lived in Central Islip for 60 years.
They're gonna be at the Wichita game this weekend?
Yeah, we're hitting everything, man. We're doing the whole thing, man. They love USF, so we're gonna continue to support you guys. And yeah, man, I'm just so happy and so proud of you as a fellow Long Islander, but just to see your growth through a year plus with USF. And this year, it seems like your role's changed a little bit. What has changed? I mean, it just seems like you're being more aggressive. You're like, hey, I'm taking these threes, I'm taking these shots, especially when there's like a little bit of lull in the action and your team needs offense. What has changed about your role, just specifically in the offense this year?
Oh yeah, last year obviously come in as a freshman. We had way more older guys, more established guys that have been in college for a couple years. Obviously, Chris, Selton, and KP to name a few. So my role last year was more just like getting those guys the ball. Being a freshman, you have to earn your keep on the court. So for me, it was just not making too many mistakes out there, just running the offense how Coach Amir wanted it, getting those guys the ball. But this year, I feel like as a sophomore now, with those guys that left, I feel like my role has changed a little bit because not the fact that I have to score more, but I just have to be more aggressive. Last year, I didn't have to be as aggressive in terms of looking to score. But this year, I have to be more aggressive in terms of getting downhill, getting paint touches, whether that's creating a shot for me or creating a shot for other guys like Kaysen, Kobe, Jimmy, like Brandon, those type of guys. So I feel like just being more aggressive as a downhill getting paint touches, and then open up the game for my teammates and myself.
Yeah, you can tell. Like it's something that it doesn't show up. Like I forgot what game. I think it was in one of the games. Unfortunately, you guys lost. I think it was a game against UAB, and UAB was they played as well as you guys have had 2 games this year against UAB and FAU. Were like you guys I didn't think played that bad, but that team, just whatever they were throwing up there was going in. But that game against UAB, where it could have went sideways there, and you just kept bringing the team back. It's just great to see your growth as a player on the court. Off the court, what has that been like this year, losing those 3 guys and knowing that, like, hey, off the court, even during practice, like, how has your role changed and evolved in that way too?
Yeah, just being a leader. That's something Coach Amir was on me about ever since I stepped on campus last year, just being vocal, being a leader, being someone that the guys on the team look up to. Obviously, I'm still a sophomore, still pretty young compared to a couple guys on the team, but this year, as me being a returner guy from the last year's team that won the championship, just showing that leadership, being an everyday guy, being vocal in practice, being an extension of Coach Fletch, because obviously Coach Fletch has never been in this position of being a head coach. So just, relaying his messages to the rest of the guys on the team, on the court, while he's on the sideline during the game. And in practice, just working the hardest, being the first guy in the gym, just keeping that standard that Coach Amir created.
Yeah, and it was great to see all of you guys the other night at the sneaker soiree, and I saw Ben Fletch, and I got to meet Coach Amir's wife, Ari, and that was your first sneaker soiree, right?
Yeah, first sneaker soiree. It was a great experience, man.
It was fire, right?
Definitely want to go back. It was big time. Got to meet a couple of big time people. I was actually able to go to the hockey game last night, the Lightning game. I met Coach Coop at the sneakers soiree, and I was able to connect with him, and I got to a hockey game. So that was my first hockey game.
Oh, that's so cool, man. I wish I would have known that. I was there last night too. That's so cool. Hey, listen, man, that's Team Tampa Bay for you. And I've been there, sneaker soiree, probably 7 or 8 times running now. And it really is such a great celebration of our area. And you see how everybody comes together and all the different teams and the organizations. Like, it's no joke. Like, when people say Team Tampa Bay, it's not some hokey thing like, oh yeah, we're just saying.
It's really
like,
a family for sure.
It is, man. It's no joke. Like, it's not corny, and people may look at it from the outside and not really get it, but it's legit. Like, that's something that is, you'll see teams and players and coaches at all different games supporting all the different, colleges. It's really, really cool. I know tomorrow night is going to be a very emotional night. And me, as a guy I'll be 40 in a couple of months, I knew Coach Amir for 1 year, and it's still incredible to realize the impact that he had for just one season here. What is your thought process going into tomorrow night, knowing that it's going to be very emotional? Everybody at the YC is going to be honoring such a great man.
For me, obviously it's going to be emotional, but for me, it's a sad time. It's a tragic thing that happened, but I just take from it all the good things that Coach Amir taught me, all the good things that Coach Amir brought not only to our basketball team, not only to USF, but the whole city of Tampa. So I'm just glad that everybody's going to be there, be able to support us at the game, but not only support us, support Coach Amir's legacy, support Coach Amir's family that's going to be there, and just honor him. He left a great legacy here at USF in only 1 year, and I'm sure that if he was still here, the legacy would have just kept growing and growing. So just having everybody here in the YC, how Coach Amir would say, pack the YC, everybody be at the YC. So just showing that love to Coach Amir because he deserves it.
It's when I watched how he coached you last year. He was hard on you because he expected great things from you and big things from you. And when I just asked you about the growth and the evolution of your game, you can see Coach Amir through you. And I don't know if everybody can, like, if you saw it last year and you saw it this year, and I've always kept an eye on you because you're my Long Island guy, right? But just to watch him coach you up, and he didn't let you slide. Like, if you made a mistake or you weren't confident or you weren't being aggressive, like, he was getting on you. And now this year it seems like he's still finding a way to coach you. Does that sound right?
No, that's 100% true. Like, as soon as I step in the building, I just constantly hear Coach Amir in my head, just telling me things. He was on me every day, no matter every single practice, through every workout, to even my off the court habits. Just being early, being out in the community, talking, vouching for myself. Being a people's guy. Coach Amir wasn't scared to go to the library and sell donuts to fans or supporters. Coach Amir was just like everyone else. He was everywhere. And, Coach Amir he taught me a lot of things in 1 year. And I just try to carry those things, like, in the game. He would tell me, like, I would miss a shot last year and I would kind of get down on myself or maybe not shoot the next one, hesitate on the next one. And he's like, shoot the ball, man. Shoot the ball, man. He would always be on me, Kobe, like, to just get out of our heads, stay confident. For me last year, he was on me about my leadership. Of course, I was the point guard. I was a freshman last year, and I didn't really say too much. We had guys like Chris. Chris was our leader last year, and I kind of was on the side, just learning everything as a freshman. But he didn't want me to be a freshman and learn. Last year, he always would tell me, he said, "You got to grow up. You got to grow up quicker. If our team's gonna reach our full potential, you got to grow up quicker." So, just hearing that in practice, be an everyday guy, JR. Be an everyday guy, like, no matter what the drill is, because I'm a competitor. So the funny thing is, we would play 5-on-5, and you will see me going 110%, and then we'll come and maybe do like a passing drill, and I might, I'm not BSing it, but you know how
take the foot off the gas a little bit.
So, so Coach Amir would just be on me every drill, like, keep the same intensity. Is going to take you to another level. So this year I've just been focusing on, no matter what the drill is, whatever we're doing in practice, just giving that 110% effort. And I feel like it's helped me this year. As everyone can see, I feel like I've been playing much better.
What you guys have been able to persevere through and to be able to battle and listen, man, you have to grow up, and you just said it. You got to grow up fast, man. What you guys have had to deal with, I can't imagine what you guys have gone through and the whirlwind of emotions. This is stuff that may not happen until you're in your 30s, your 40s, your 50s, and you guys are experiencing this as young men. And I think you guys are very, very fortunate to have a guy like Ben Fletcher there. He's just such a fantastic man. All the other assistant coaches, Mike Kelly, Lee Butler, the entire crew, Chad, the SID there, like everybody together. Just talk about how through, Amir not being here with us anymore, just how you guys have been able to kind of just take it day by day and to just kind of put your best foot forward and, operate in a way that is going to honor him.
Yeah, like Coach Amir said at the end of the year when he got the Coach of the Year award, and he said, I'm going to take it off and I'm going to replace it with Staff of the Year. And I feel like it has translated into this year because, obviously without Coach Amir, it's been tough, but I feel like we have probably one of the best staffs in the country, and we're able to just, try to keep that culture. Obviously, our record doesn't show for it right now, but just what we went through, just keeping the team together, keeping us just stacking days, taking it one day at a time. The whole team, it's a team effort. Coach Fletch told us when we heard the news of Coach Amir's passing that it was going to take everybody to get through this year. Some guys are going to have some bad days when we're it's a hard grieving process, and we're still playing through it. Nobody expected it to be like this. We didn't expect it. Coach Fletch didn't expect to get thrown into that position. Even the administration didn't expect coming into this year that Coach Amir was not going to be our head coach. So it's been a difficult change for us. But just having a good supporting staff to be able to rely on and keep everybody's head on straight and keep everybody together. In a positive mood, not having guys falling off, getting into bad. When people go through a grieving process, some people turn to different mechanisms to cope with it. We have a good staff that's been able to help us, grieve the right way or have people to lean on, have people to talk to. We have Dr. Lee over in our athletics to talk to as well. So just having a complete staff to just know that somebody's always going to be there for us.
That's amazing. And you're right, man, because you're not always going to have great days. You're not always going to have days where you're like, it's tough, man. It's never a forward process. It's going to hit you, when you least expect it. I mean, the other night at the sneaker soiree, I saw you guys there, which was great. And then I see the Abdur Rahim family and I'm leaking on my face. I'm like, God dang, man. Like you just never know. And I got the picture right here of Coach Amir. That doesn't ever come down. That stays right here in my man cave. But yeah, man, I truly believe that the adversity that you guys have gone through is going to help you the longer the season goes, because there's nothing that you guys are going to face on the basketball court that is going to it's not going to compare to what you guys had to deal with what happened with Coach Amir. Not just that it happened, but when it happened, because everything had to be like, all right, well, we got to get ready for the season. This is going to be here real quick. I want to ask you some fun stuff before I let you go. Who are you listening to? What music you listen to before the game? Who gets you hyped up? Are you one of those guys that, big pump up music? Are you guys quiet? Are you a quiet music guy to kind of get laser focused? Where are you at? Who's on the playlist?
Yeah, I mean, I listen to a lot of different type of music, and it's a game by game thing for me. However I'm feeling that day. If I'm kind of like in a sleepy mood or whatever, I might play some, some hype upbeat music. I listen to a lot of, I don't know if you know Gunna, Huncho. Rappers like that to get me, out of a slump, maybe wake my energy up a little bit. But then some days I listen to gospel music out on the court during my warm-ups to just, calm down, just, think about everything. I'm just grateful for the position that I am. I'm grateful to be able to play at the highest level, play here in Tampa at USF. So, that gospel music keeps me grounded, and just I'm thankful for, just being on the court.
Yeah, remember, man, I'm from CI, man. So I was listening to Biggie and Jadakiss and Big L. That was who I was listening to before the game. We was getting it right.
Yes, sir.
If somebody leaves something on the bus, who is it? If somebody on your team leaves something on the bus, who is it?
Man, I would say Corey. Corey. Oh, Jimmy Williams. Jimmy Williams, for sure.
There's always that one guy. Who's got the best swag, most style on your team? Who's got the drip?
I would say me, but besides me, my guy Nick Smith. Nick Smith, everywhere he goes, it don't matter. It could be 10 p.m. and we're making a quick 7-Eleven run. he's gonna put on the best fit out of anybody in the whole Tampa. So Nick Smith for sure.
If you get, let's say you're driving, your car breaks down at 2:00 in the morning, who's that one teammate you call that you know is going to pick up and you know is going to come pick you up?
Brandon Stroud. Brandon Stroud is up till 5 a.m. for some reason a lot of times. And Brandon Stroud is he's reliable. You know, he's always going to be there for you no matter what it is. You could be 2 hours away and you call him B5. I need you to come get me. He's like, all right, I'm on the way. So I would say Brandon for sure.
And then last one.
Or Kaysen too.
Kaysen, yeah. Who is that one teammate that has the best talent? Because I've had guys, you know, that I grew up with that, like, they could rap or they could sing, they could dance, they can draw. Like, who's got that one talent? Like, who's got that one talent outside of basketball that you're like, damn, that dude is talented?
A lot of people don't know, but Jamil Reynolds can rap. He actually he has a couple of songs in the vault. Obviously he hasn't released it, but Jamil can rap. Kaysen Jennings can rap too a little bit.
Nice.
I'm not too sure about. We don't have too many dancers on the team besides me. Me and Kaysen dance. But yeah, Jamil and Kaysen can rap for sure.
Does Jamil have a rap name?
I don't think so.
We're just gonna straight Jamil. I like that. Yeah, one name. I like that.
I don't think so. Yeah.
That's a beautiful thing. Well, Jayden, again, man, thank you so much for your time. Again, I'm always looking out for you, my fellow Long Island brother. I said it before, I'll say it again. I can see Coach Amir's light through you, young man. So please continue spreading that and shining and sharing that with other people, because the values that man was able to give you and your teammates and all of us, you know, me, he was 3 years older than me. But the things that he imparted on me are a lot of the things that my dad and my grandfather taught me, right? Shaking people's hands, look at them in their eye, total respect, you know, treat people the way you want to be treated. So I'm with you, and I'm so glad that you have the disposition and the mindset that you have of, it is tough. Days are tough, but you have such a positive outlook on the whole situation. And I try to do the same thing when it comes to Amir. Like, I'm just glad that we had him in our lives. You know, our lives are better and more enriched because he was here. It sucks that he's not here. We feel for his family. But man, we just got to take the positive out of all of it. Thank you so much for your time. Good luck tomorrow night. Everybody go to the YC, pack the YC, go USFBulls.com. Go get those tickets. Go Bulls all day, every day. JR, appreciate you, man. I'll see you tomorrow at the Yuengling Center. You got it, buddy. Peace out. All right, Jayden Reid. Unbelievable. Richie P, you're right. I don't know, but the kid may have a future in broadcasting. You ain't wrong. You ain't wrong. I had to keep him for a little longer than usual. I know. I think it was only supposed to be 10 minutes, but I think we went 17. I mean, that kid. What a great outlook. What a great outlook on life and everything that happened with Coach Amir Abdur Rahim. You know, you kind of forget what the kids, they're kids, right? Like, Jayden Reid is a true sophomore. Jayden Reid is 20 years old. And just listen to what he was just saying. Listen to how he was articulating his thoughts on not just basketball, but his life. It just shows you that, again, I go back to the quote that, and it's so, you know, I always mess up this quote from Jackie Robinson, but a life is not important except in the impact it has on other lives. I'll say it again. A life is not important except in the impact it has on other lives. Think about that. Amir Abdur Rahim was here for a year, one season, and he turned everybody into a big USF basketball fan. The impact that he had on people young and old, the impact that he had on non-student athletes within the University of South Florida is something that really, I think, one day needs to be studied. There needs to be a documentary there needs to be a movie on the life of Amir Abdur Rahim, because the impact was so profound. And you can hear it in Jayden Reid's voice. And I didn't, I didn't want to be like too, I didn't know, I had to say it because I felt it, right? But I didn't want it to come across as like inappropriate or incorrect. But I don't know if you could see it or not, but I can see Amir Abdur Rahim through Jayden Reid. Like, I remember last year on the sideline, Jayden did something and Amir was just tearing him a new one. He was getting on him about, it wasn't lack of effort, but it was just a lack of aggression. It was a lack of it was second guessing. It was doubting himself. And Amir was just on him. He did not let up. He knew that this kid was destined for greatness. Forget about basketball. As a human being, he's a true freshman. Playing on a team with Placer, playing on a team with Youngblood and Selton Miguel and Case and Pryor, these guys have played for multiple teams, multiple colleges. They've played all over the country. And here's Jayden Reid, small point guard from Westbury, Long Island, New York. And he's thrown right into the deep end. And Coach Amir is coaching him harder than probably anybody else on the team, getting on him. And he took it, and he took it, and he took it. And he knew where it was coming from. And Tony La Russa wrote a great book. It's called 3 Nights in August, one of my favorite books. And the Hall of Fame manager said, you really can't get on a player. Really get on a player. And have it work unless that player knows you love him. And look at Jayden Reid now. Look at how aggressive he is on the court. Listen to that young man speak about Amir, about basketball, about life. That is impact. That is affecting other people's lives. That is what Amir Abdur Rahim did for this entire basketball program, for an entire university. And one thing doesn't get talked about enough, and that is the job done by the University of South Florida for everybody involved in this situation. What USF has done to give these young men, these coaches, and everybody involved with that program the tools to be able to grieve throughout this entire process is something that really needs to be applauded. I don't care what their record is, but just think about it. They're a 500 team right now, okay? They've had some good wins this year, but just imagine if you had to go through at that age what they went through. I'd be a blubbering mess. I'd be a puddle on the ground. There's other teams around the country that would be a 4 or 5 win team. Let's not forget, this was one of the worst teams in college basketball just a couple of years ago. But now they're sitting at 500. They're a team that, hey, they could do some damage in the conference tournament, get an automatic bid. You don't know. There's talent on this team. But it is incredible that they have been able to deal with this process in such a way where it just makes you proud. Listen to him. Go back and listen to that interview later on. Listen to what Jayden Reid had to say about this whole process. That doesn't sound like a kid that is shattered. That doesn't sound like a kid that doesn't have guidance. That doesn't sound like a kid that's alone. That sounds like a kid that has matured through a very, very tough time. That sounds like a kid that is growing into being a fine young man. So kudos to the University of South Florida for giving not just Jayden Reid, not just the players, but everybody within the program the resources available to grieve the loss of Amir Abdur Rahim. A wonderful basketball coach, but an even better human being. Michael Kelly, President Rialaw, Lee Butler, everybody there at USF. You guys stand up. And I know this is not something that you wanted to have to deal with. And I don't mean to make light of it or throw shade at it by saying deal with, but I'm just talking about the unfortunate event of you have to pick up the pieces. You have to continue trudging forward. You have to continue supporting this program and trying to win basketball games. I know it seems so minuscule. It pales in comparison to the actual loss. There's no loss that the USF basketball team will take this year that compares to the loss of losing such an impactful leader like Amir Abdur Rahim. Ben Fletcher, one of Amir's best friend. We're so lucky that he is here for these kids. We're so lucky that we have such a strong man, such a wonderful human being that is able to take the reins from his best bud and to keep the ship moving in the right direction. It's heavy. It's heavy for all of us. And I'm sure that there's a part of everybody involved with that program that after the season, they're going to be able to get away from the court a little bit and just exhale. And deservedly so. I can't stress this to you guys enough. If you're going to go to one game in 2025 here in the Tampa Bay area, please get out to the Yingling Center tomorrow night to celebrate the life of Amir Abdur Rahim, to support Jayden Reid and the Bulls and everybody there at the University of South Florida. Go usfbulls.com for information on tickets. And it's a great site because you can find out where all of our teams are at and when you can see them play. I'll be on the call for softball on Friday. Can't wait for Ken Erickson and then the Bulls to see what they do out on the softball field, and baseball next week. But please get out to the Yingling Center tomorrow night. I'll be there. Come say hello. And as always, go Bulls. Make sure you like everything on social media that I got going on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, and also like and subscribe on YouTube. Goes out to the great Cristiano Ronaldo. There's a positive. I was going to do that before our guy Erik Erlendsson comes on, but one of the greatest soccer players of all time. He turns 40 today. He joins the 40 club a couple of months before I do. But Cristiano Ronaldo dos Santos Aveiro, a Portuguese legend, a Man United legend, a Real Madrid legend, a Juventus legend, just one of the greatest ever. The way that he's been able to just define what work ethic and class and just elite level scoring in your profession. A fantastic job in his career. Shout out to my guy, Will. Hit him, Jay. I see you, big Will. If you guys ever want to see top tier umpiring, my guy, Will out there, Greco, Wednesday nights. I know he's going to be out there tonight with the Pendingos. But man, we got some great people out there Wednesday night playing softball over at Greco with Ray and Tiger and Terry, whenever Terry wants to show up, and Cecil, the whole crew over there, and Mike. Yeah, we got some great guys, really, really good dudes over there. If you want to head on over to Greco and play some softball, if you want to get beat by the Pendingos, sign up for Wednesday nights. We just started the season, so you're going to have to wait a couple of weeks. But if you're interested in playing softball and getting a team together, let me know. Message me, and we'll find a way to get you in there. But I don't know if you want this smoke with the Pendingos. I don't know if you do, because we definitely bring the heat. I was going to bring my jerseys actually in the other room. I was going to bring it out, hold it up. But yeah, some good stuff there. Mondays, Wednesdays, I'm getting out there playing some softball. I said this a couple of months ago. I'll say it again here. Find a way to get outside and do something. It is so beautiful here in Tampa. There's snow in other parts of the country right now. It is so nice here in the Bay Area. Get outside. Get outside and do something. Join a league. I know some people will say, I don't want to do this, or I don't want to join this league, or they have hesitation and reservations. Get out there. Get out there and exercise. Go walk on Bayshore. Join a pickleball league. Join a softball league. Join a kickball league. Do something. Get moving. My dad's starting to text us every morning like, I ran this much. He's retired now. Let's read it real quick before Erik Erlendsson joins us. This guy makes me feel bad every day. Let's see. Come on, Doug. Good morning. This is what Dad texted at 9:02 this morning, knowing his ass was up for 4 hours. Good morning. 16 miles on the stationary bike. 75 incline sit-ups and 240 total, some bench pressing. Let's keep moving. Let's have a day. Love you all. Set the bar higher every day. Are you serious? This guy's going to be 68. He's going to be 68 this year. Nuts. Nick, waiting on my Pendingo's 10-day contract. Bro, we might need you. What position do you play, Nick? Because we might need an outfielder tonight. And if you're willing to drive up from Sarasota, listen, if you're not good, Nick, you've been talking a lot of stuff for a long time. We need an outfield. We might need an outfielder tonight, Nick. So maybe if you're willing to take the drive, it's at 9:00 tonight. Let me know. My guy Nick in Sarasota, he's been asking about softball for a long time, so that'd be great. You never know, man. These softball every day, we're hawking these people down. We need some consistency here. But you know where you can get consistency? LightningInsider.com. You're going to get consistency with our guy Erik Erlendsson. K, not a C2S, is after the D on Twitter/X. Make sure you use that promo code JNZ over at LightningInsider.com. Get $10 off, not just this season, but every recurring season. You heard me guys mentioning before my entry for the Bolts blogs on the Lightning website, lightning.nhl.com. Erik did it for January on the case for John Cooper to win the Jack Adams Award for the best coach in the league. Still crazy how he hasn't won it. And then mine on the return of Ryan McDonough to Tampa Bay. What's going on, Double E? How are you?
I'm good, man. What's up with you?
You know, just another day here in paradise. It's Cristiano Ronaldo's 40th birthday, so we're getting old. I'm like, oh my God, a couple months away from me. We'll start at the position I think that worried a lot of people last night, but Nick Paul leaving after only 3 shifts last night. Positive sign on the ice today. Does that surprise you at all? Because I figured if he missed that much time last night, you probably wouldn't see him on the ice, but he was out there.
Yeah, I guess it just depends on what it actually is, right? I mean, we didn't even get a specification and, whether it was lower or upper body last night. So, look, I saw him walking around the hallways last night. He seemed okay. But, the one thing I've learned about this medical staff is they're very precautionary. Right. So if there's any question about something, they'll hold a player out. And, if he underwent testing this morning, if he underwent testing last night, just to check something on it, that's just me speculating. That's not anything that I had seen. But if that's the case, then if everything checked out, that would explain why he was on the ice today. It was a very optional skate. Obviously, there were only a handful of guys on the ice. But, look, anytime a player leaves a game injured and you see him on the ice the next day, that is absolutely a positive sign.
I mentioned this last night when I was posting my post-game videos. Has Luke Glendening ever had a bad game for the Lightning?
Oh.
Like, it's just crazy. Yeah. Like, I don't want to jinx the guy because now on Thursday night he's probably going to screw up. But, I mean, I look at him and I go, he wins every puck battle. He wins a ton of faceoffs. Obviously he's not like a 30-goal scorer or anything like that. He's a fourth-line center, number 1 and number 2 penalty killer. But, like, he just makes good plays all the time. And even games they don't play well, he makes smart plays. It's just – he's such an underrated part of this team. And I know there's going to be a lot of people looking to make or wanting the Lightning to make roster moves here in the next couple of weeks, but that dude's not going anywhere, man. I love this guy.
No, and in fact, I hope they re-sign him, right? He's a UFA at the end of this year. And he's never going to be flashy. He's never going to stand out. He's going to get his 8 minutes of ice time per game. But you need players like Luke Glendening to win. Right. If you look at any team that has ever won a championship, there's players like Luke Glendening that are on your team because you need a big face-off win. It's a good chance you can go out and put him in the circle, and there's a good chance he's going to win it. You need a penalty kill. There's a good chance that Luke Glendening is the first guy over the boards to go out and help kill that penalty. He's not going to give you a ton of offense, and I know that depth scoring has certainly been an issue with this team this year, especially in the past month plus, as they've kind of hit some droughts in putting pucks in the back of the net. but he does so many little things right because of a smart player. And, you talk to Luke and he understood that, he wasn't going to be a big time goal scorer at the NHL level. He needed to find something else to do to kind of carve out a niche. And he's done a great job. I mean, you look at his career and what he's done all those years in Detroit and a couple of years in Dallas on a couple of pretty good Stars teams. He's one of those integral players that, just add something to the team that you need to have. Now, we'll naturally kind of move right in here to Zemgus Girgensons, right? Because he doesn't have a goal. Mm-hmm. He only has 2 assists, I think, on the year. So offensively, you're getting nothing out of Zemgus Girgensons, but doesn't mean he's doesn't have value to the team. I mean, he has been involved in a lot of scoring chances, and okay, he doesn't have the scoring touch of, a middle six kind of forward even, but you look at the little things as Zemgus Girgensons does. Everybody likes to look at plus minus.
Right.
And you'll look at Girgenson's number. He's a -7. Dude's got 2 points, and he's only a -7.
Right.
Like, that's kind of telling of how good defensively he is, how good he kills penalties. Yes, you want him to score. Don't get me wrong. But that's not a reason to say he's worthless on this team. Right. And
I wanted the guy to score so bad. I feel like if he scores, he'll get 3 or 4.
You hope so, right? Like Guy Boucher used to say all the time, goals are like bananas. They come in bunches.
That was a Guy Boucher, huh?
Well, I mean, it might have come from somewhere else, but Guy used that line quite a bit in this couple of years here.
All right, so I want to show this real quick because this is, and we got to do something here. I want to make sure. There you go. A lilac with 5 petals is actually a good luck charm in Latvia. So our Latvian gangster, Zemgus Girgensons, I feel like this is something that we need to start because I brought it up a couple weeks ago. It did work. I think we need to go full bore and get him delivered to the locker room or something. Because he's getting his chances. It's not like Zemgus doesn't get his chances. He had a couple of shots last night. And he's another guy that works hard. The depth scoring has to improve, but I don't know. I don't look at Glendening and Girgensons and be like, it's your fault, right? Like I look at some of the other guys that get more offensive opportunities. I look at the Gonzalez and the Chafies and the Asimons of the world. I look at those 3 guys before I look at a guy like Girgensons.
Yeah. And it's kind of interesting. I don't know how much stock you put into sort of advanced numbers and everything else, but Money Puck put out a graphic the other day in the top 15 expected goals rates for lines. Mm-hmm. So this is based on players that have played at least 150 minutes together this year. Number 7 in the league in expected goals percentage for was the line of Luke Glendening, Zemgus Girgensons, and Mikey Esimon. and again, it's not because they're creating a lot, because they don't create a ton, but they're good defensively.
Right.
It's a good defensive line. So, there's a balance here. Yeah. Again, you want, gosh, if you can get 10 goals out of Luke Glendening again, you'd feel great. Last night was just his 3rd, right? He got 10 last year. He's only at 3 this year. So there's been a drop off there, but not everything on your lineup has to be about scoring goals. You also have to defend. And, those 2 guys in particular, Glendening and Girgensons, defend very well.
When we look at some of these other guys in the middle 6, when kind of these guys that we just brought up, Asimont and Chafee and who did I just say? Asimont, Chafee,
Gonzalez.
I mean, which one of those 3 guys do you think can really, find a groove here and possibly find the back of the net? Because it's just not enough. Like you just need more help.
Of those 3, it's probably Gonzalez. I mean, he's an offensive player. He certainly put up some offensive numbers in the AHL, and it doesn't always translate from the AHL to the NHL. But you look at, since he came back up a couple of games ago, his cross-ice pass to Hagel, I forget which game it was. I think, was it the LA game? I think it was the LA game. What a great pass, right? He was the guy who led the way, carried the puck up the ice on the Glendening goal. He doesn't get an assist on it, but he's the guy who led that charge up ice and got the puck in deep, and Girgensons recovered it, and they end up scoring. So he's got the offensive capabilities. I think, when he went back a couple of weeks ago, he regained some offensive confidence, and I think you're seeing it. He's been a little bit more involved around the net in just the past couple of games. He understood what they asked him to do when he went to Syracuse, and he went down and he worked on it, and that's why he got a quick recall. Plus, they need it, right? They need other guys to kind of produce on a semi-consistent basis, and it can be collective. It doesn't have just to be one guy, but it can be collective because there's a reason Connor Geekie, was sent down to Syracuse because they need him to find his offensive game and kind of rekindle and the spark that he had in his game and find the confidence that he needs as well to be successful. And Connor Geekie at some point is going to be a successful player in this lineup, but they need him to score more. And that's the reason why he was sent down. And we'll see. I mean, look, you've got 3 more games now before the Four Nations break. We saw a lot of movement over the last couple of days around the league with trades and everything. I don't know that Julian has anything up his sleeve right now, but, they're probably looking at a few things to maybe be a precursor to something coming sometime between now and the trade deadline.
And and I said this before when we started the show, Julian doesn't like to wait till the trade deadline. He likes to get it done before then, but I think there's a lot of teams that are still in the hunt when it comes to the wild card, so that might be kind of pushing this time back. But this team needs to make some moves, see. And I look at guys like, whether it's, a forward or a defenseman. I mean, I think they have to get both. I think they need to get 2 forwards and a defenseman. How does the salary cap and how it's going to raise, how does that affect how Julian is going to attack the trade deadline this year? Some people said, oh, well, it means I don't know. I just think it means like, hey, now he has an idea. When we spoke to him last Monday, he didn't really have the figures in front of him. He may have, and he just didn't, tell us. But now that it seems pretty concrete, do you think that's going to kind of enable him to be able to go out there and make some moves with the idea of like, hey, the salary cap is going to raise so we can have some more talent here?
Well, I think that maybe factors in a little bit just because of the way that he likes to operate, right? He likes guys with contract control, right? He doesn't like the UFA market. He kind of had to go the rental market last year with Duclair and Dumba because of the salary cap situation. They were in LTI. They're not in LTI this year. And I'll tell you the difference it means between being an LTI and not being an LTI. You don't have to trade dollar in, dollar out. You don't have to do it that way. You don't have to move pieces around to fit guys in, right? So you have, I think the last number I saw available, somewhere around 6.9 million in available cap space at the actual trade deadline. So it's a little bit less as you get, it builds up the further you get, the closer you get to the trade deadline, but that would be their cap space at the actual deadline. So that gives you an idea of the type of player that they could bring in, because everything's prorated, right? Like you're picking up, if guys making $6 million a contract, you're only prorating it to what's left on the NHL schedule in terms of days. So that's the biggest thing that's going to impact what Julian can do. He could actually, if he wanted to, and it sounds like this is where he would like to lean, he could add a piece without subtracting a piece.
That's great.
He could add something.
He said that was one of the biggest things that he kind of slid in there a little bit.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a money in, money out thing, as we've seen in years past. I'm like, oh, okay, that's good.
Yeah, and it even means he doesn't even necessarily have to send guys down to the minors because, I mean, we know they've been carrying 20, 21 players really since Moser got hurt. And that's the other thing that's going to happen too is JJ Moser will come back. He'll be ready certainly by the restart of the schedule after Four Nations. Yeah, but I don't like right around now is when the timeline was.
Right.
But with 3 games left and 2 of those are back-to-backs.
Yeah, no sense.
But he probably could if he had to. But as I mentioned at the top, the way that they operate is they err on the side of caution with players and want to make sure that they're ready. And with an additional 2 weeks of opportunity to rest, maybe he squeaks into the last game. And that gives him an addition to. We'll find out. We'll see.
I was thinking that too.
But yeah, I mean, Moser's going to come back.
He's that guy. Like, hey, I'm good. Like, oh my god, like he's just hanging out with them in the locker room the other day for like 10 minutes, and he's just like talking the ear off of the athletic trainers. I'm like, he's probably pissing everybody. This dude wants to be on the ice so freaking bad. Oh my god. What does that mean though, E? Like for the defenseman? I mean, you look at it and they have, and we're counting Max Crozier in here now. You have 8 NHL defensemen when he comes back with Moser and Hedman and McDonough and Chernak and Radish and Perbix and Lilleberg and Crozier. Like, you have 8 guys there, and people are going to be on the hunt for defense. And it's kind of, Max Crozier to me is an NHL defenseman. I think he should be up. I think he should be playing with the big club. I think he needs to learn, on the fly here. He hasn't had many scenarios where you look at it like, wow, that kid's overmatched. Do you think they send one of those guys out or 2 of those guys out at the deadline to either bring in another defenseman or as a package deal to get a forward?
I could see it for sure, because with Moser coming back, who comes out, right? Like who's the odd man out? And look, Max Crozier's back in the American League, right? So he's still just kind of biding his time and waiting for an opportunity to see regular minutes with the team. And, and does Moser go right back to pairing with Victor Hedman? And then what does that mean for Darren Radish? And then what does that mean for Nick Perbix? And are you going to put a righty-righty combination together if Emil Lilleberg is the odd man out on the lineup? We saw a little bit of a rotation early in the year between those 3 guys, Perbix, Lilleberg, and Radish. But Radish has been getting power play minutes, right? He was on the top unit. He's back to the second unit on the power play. So he's been kind of a piece that they've been utilizing to some of his strengths, which is his shot, right? We know how hard of a shot he has and when he gets it on net. So, these are good problems to have, but they are issues that the team is going to have to deal with one way or the other when JJ Moser is ready to come back. One of the interesting things is, I believe, and I haven't seen this from the league yet, but, Julian hinted that there's no restrictions on movement during the Four Nations. It's not like the holiday break for Christmas where players can't be moved or traded or anything like that. There could be movement over the Four Nations break. Right. They may make us work too hard over the Four Nations face-off. We'll see.
Thanks, Julian. Who do you think the Bolts like the most? And when I say like the most, think that is going to be a part of their future for the longest amount of time, and I'll go 3 to 5 years, out of the 4 of Lilleberg, Crozier, Radish, and Perbix?
Ooh. I would probably put Crozier at the top of that list.
Really?
Long term, yeah. Just because of the style of game he plays. He's patient. He's poised. He's physical. He's smart. Again, not going to stand out in a lot of ways, but the way that he plays the game. I would probably put Lilleberg second because he's the only lefty of this group. Again, plays a physical style of game. He's still learning, to kind of be better at what he does. Picks his spots a little bit better on stepping up and making hits. You remember when he first came up, he was like he wanted to hit everything, and it was taking him out of position. And so he's learned to kind of pick his spots with his physical play. And he's a big body, right? Like he's just a solid, big body player. And then after that, I'd probably toss a coin between Perbix and Radish. Perbix is scheduled to be UFA at the end of the year. I think Radish, is up at the end of this year as well. Yeah, I think he had a sign of it. He might have 1 year left. Forgive me for not knowing that off the top of my head. But if you're asking me to put those in order, that's probably the order I'd go.
So when you think about trading 1 or 2 of those guys, does it automatically go to that, or right? Because that's the thing. It's like that's who they want, but you could probably get a bigger return if you trade a Lilleberg or a Crozier, right? So damn, it's a tough one because I think the way that they look at Radish now, this is a guy that's been in the system for a while. They know what he's about. He's finally achieved like NHL defenseman status. They trust him on the power play. They changed things up on the power play. I don't know if it was necessarily his fault why it wasn't working so much. And I still think he should be on the first power play unit anyway in that Matt Mitchell Chafee spot. What about those guys offensively, going back to kind of what we were just saying? At what point do you think they look at some of these guys and go, we really need to infuse? Like, how long do you give a Chafee and a Gonsalves and an Asamont before you start realizing like that they're not part of the solution?
Well, I still think it's a relatively small sample size on both those guys, right? Chafee didn't come up until the last half of last season. Performed well, liked a lot of things that he does, especially the board battles and his willingness to get to the net. Gage is still a very small sample size in terms of the NHL level. You certainly have a feel for him, how he plays in the A. He just needs to be able to translate that to consistency at the NHL level. And,
Right.
Is he going to be a big time? Could he be a big time scorer in the NHL? I don't know if he has that capability. I don't know if I would even classify him necessarily as a guy who would be a 20-goal scorer. But I feel he's a guy who could be 12 to 15 goal scorer if he's at the top of his game. It was interesting last night with the injury. Obviously, losing Nick Paul, they lost Cirelli for a bit as well in that game, and Gonçalves getting the opportunity to play with Kucherov and some of the top six guys. And he's probably a low-level top six guy. Which means middle six, I guess. So as we talk about trying to find a middle six guy, if he can pop in some offense, he'd be an ideal middle six guy, depending on who he could play with. So I don't know how long the leash is on those guys. There's not a ton in the system, beyond an Isaac Howard who, he's at Michigan State. Michigan State is ranked number 1 in the country, or number 1, number 2 throughout most of the season. So they're hoping he goes on a nice long playoff run with Michigan State. I wouldn't be surprised that whenever his season is done, as he ends up signing a contract, just kind of reading between some of the lines of guys and people that I've been talking to about him. That's your high-end skill that's coming. Ethan Gauthier is a guy who's almost a projected perfect middle six type of forward, but he's in junior. He's not coming anytime soon, not until next year at the earliest, even if he can make the jump from junior to the NHL. Geeky's the guy, though. Geeky's the guy that you got to get going. He's a top 15 pick in this league. He's got tremendous offensive upside. If he gets going like he did early in the year when he was with Hagel and Cirelli and how good that trio was, if that kind of unlocked a lot of things, and it just hasn't been consistent for Geeky, but that'll come.
All righty. Entertain this thought. I really think that the Lightning need to give a long, hard look at bringing Isaac Howard into the fold after his college season is done. Yeah. And the reason being is, regardless of what we've seen when it comes to sample size, like Isaac Howard to me is a better option right now than Gage Gonçalves and Mitchell Chaffee and Mikey Eisman because of the high-end talent. And I don't think that he's going to come in and automatically be, the greatest player in the world. But I also, after watching this kid all year and watching as much as I can, know that he's not going to come up here and poop the bed. Like, he's just not going to crap all over himself. Like, he'll come up and his talent and his skill are undeniable. Is his body NHL ready? No. But could you honestly say Chris Kreider and Cale Makar and some of these other guys, they looked ready? They both did not look like NHL players, but right after their college season was done, boom, they're up to the big club. When you have a team that's as good as the Tampa Bay Lightning can be, right? How much longer are you going to have a top 3 goalie, a top 5 defenseman, 2 top 12 forwards in their prime, and then, Jake Gensel, and then one of, if not the best penalty killing unit in Hagel and Cirelli? Like, these guys are ready to win right now. Yeah. And if you're telling me that Isaac Howard can come in and inject some life into that third line, and your third line could be Isaac Howard, Nick Paul, and then a Chaffee or a Gergens, or a Chaffee and a Gonçalves. I mean, what's the drawback? Why wouldn't Julian look at that as a possibility from happening, other than like, hey, we just want to marinate him and we just want to make sure that he marinates in the AHL and learn the pro game? I mean, some guys, I think they just need to get up there and play with the big boys.
I mean, you're not wrong.
That means a lot. That means a lot coming from you.
We saw Chris Kreider sign his contract here in Tampa at the 2012 Frozen Four, right? He didn't have time to really celebrate the national championship that they won before he was signing his contract, and he was off to, I think they played Ottawa in the first round.
Yeah,
that
he
year.
Was fantastic.
Boom, off he went, right? So, yeah, look, I just get the sense that that's the route they're going to go, right? Because the college players and their contracts are different, because it's the one area of the CBA where the players have a lot of leverage. Because after 4 years in college, those players can opt to become unrestricted free agents. We saw this with Sammy Walker. And we saw this with Cole Gutman, specifically with the Lightning. Those were two guys they wanted, that they drafted, especially Walker. I mean, Walker was such a long-term project, right? Super skilled kid, came into a development camp and just lit everybody up in that 3-on-3 tournament. And I know it's just development camp, but he came every year, and college players have to pay their own money because there's still the amateur status. So college players still had to pay their own. He came to every single development camp. I think he was 5'6" when they drafted him. He shot up to like 5'10" in like 3 years. It was crazy. I remember walking in and saying, Sammy, what in the heck happened? Like, he really shot up, and it was so noticeable. But they couldn't sign him because he went back to Minnesota for his 4th year and opted to become a free agent. The same thing, Cole Gutman won a championship with Denver, opted to go the free agent route and sign with Chicago's system. So there is leverage. So the one thing that teams can do in situations with Isaac Howard is, you sign with us now, you're going to finish the season in the NHL. And then we'll see what goes on after that. And again, it just depends on how deep into the postseason that Michigan State goes. That would determine, because they won't have any of these type of discussions with him or his representatives until his season is done.
Right.
But I would anticipate, because you can, for lack of a better term, dangle that carrot in front of the player. Join us now. We want you here. Come play in the NHL. We'll give you at least a game. We'll figure things out. We'll see where you fit. Maybe you get into the playoffs. If we get into the playoffs, maybe you find a way into our line. Like, those are the things you can kind of use as leverage yourself to be able to get a player like Isaac, because the entry-level contracts are pretty standard. There's not a ton incentive-wise. Like, the signing bonuses or the bonuses, they're all pretty structured. So every entry-level contract looks the same. But what can you offer a player like Howard? Come out of college now, join us as a pro at 20, 21 years old. You can play now. So that's why I think that's a route that they could easily go in this situation, depending on how far Michigan State goes. I would be surprised, again, based on conversations that I've had with people, if Howard does not join the organization sooner rather than later. It's hard for me to see him going back a 4th year. Right. And then if he goes back for a 4th year, now we're kind of hanging in the balance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And just imagine, like, if things really work out, and who's to say that he doesn't end up being the guy that plays with Hagel and Cirelli, right? Yeah. And then you have a third line of Nick Paul and Connor Geeky. And then if they go out, my whole thing too is if they bring him up, then all you have to do is, in my mind, get one forward, right? A guy that I want, maybe not him, but like him, is a Josh Anderson. Stock down in Montreal, but we know, you and I, 30-year-old guy's got term left on his contract for next year. He was the reason why Montreal won that Stanley Cup final game against the Lightning a couple years ago. That is a big body guy, right-handed shot. He can play on the power play. I mean, that is a guy right there I look at in Montreal. I know they won, but they're 7th of 8th. That's one of those type of guys where I look at a veteran and Howard. You get a defenseman. Now this team is cooking.
Yeah, and Robinson was a big factor in that 19 series against Columbus.
Anderson,
yeah. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, he was a monster. Big factor.
Yeah. So, I mean, he can atone for some of his transgressions from hurting the Lightning.
That's right.
Tampa Bay Lightning's own lightninginsider.com, Erik Erlendsson. Use that promo code JNZ, $10 off, not just this year, but every recurring season. Erik_Erlendsson. That's a K, not a C. 2 S's after the D. Go check him out all the time. And, of course, tomorrow night at the game. I'm actually going to be at USF tomorrow night for the Amir Abdur Rahim game, brother, so I won't see you. But we'll talk to you next Wednesday right here. Hopefully talking about more Lightning victories. Appreciate it, man. Yep. Have a good week.
Yep. Thanks. Big game tomorrow night for sure.
Yes, sir. Erik Erlendsson, can't beat that. So there you go. This is why you're here on the Jay Recher podcast. I was spewing this last night to Greg Linnelli from Lightning Radio, saying they need to bring up Isaac Howard when college is done, when the Michigan State season is over. Get his butt up with the Bolts. He's the best option out of anybody they got in the middle six right now. And you never know. His ceiling is up here. He's not going to poop himself. He's going to be a guy that can play. And even if he doesn't score 100 points a season, he's going to be able to help you on the second power play unit. He's a guy that's got speed and tenacity, and he knows how to win. I think a lot of times you can look at certain players and know what their ceiling is going to be. And you heard what Erik had to say about a guy like Mitchell Chafee, right? About a guy like Mikey Asimon, a guy like Gonsalves. And you look at, all right, what's their ceiling? They're not going to be a 20-goal guy. They're going to be a 12 to 15-goal guy or an 18-goal guy. All right. Well, what's Isaac Howard's ceiling, right? He may not achieve that in year one, but could he be a 30-goal scorer? We'll see. Imagine having that type of guy in your middle six. I just think that changes the entire outlook on the Lightning season if they bring him up. That's the jolt of energy that a lot of teams get that we haven't seen from the Bolts in recent years. All right, let's flip the script. One of my favorite members of Team Tampa Bay, good buddy of mine, and you see right here, we're all Rowdies all the time, baby. Club President Ryan Helfrick joins us on the program. What's going on, buddy? How are you?
Jay, doing well. Thanks for having me. Love the podcast. Keep doing the great work, man.
Thanks, buddy. You've been a busy man, brother. You've been a busy man, but I know some great news. We'll start off with the news today. We got to keep her. We got to keep her in. And listen, I told somebody earlier today, you ever heard of this guy? I go, no, I don't think I have. But if the Rowdies bring him in, he's probably going to be really, really good and maybe playing on an MLS team in 2 or 3 years. I had Jordan Farr on, and he was just like, the reputation of the Rowdies does precede itself because you guys treat people so well and treat your keepers so well. And that GK union, going back to our guy Jeff Attinella, I mean, what's the common thread, a common theme for a guy when you bring him in here? Because a lot of people, you've earned that benefit of the doubt from the Rowdies fans.
Yeah. So we have as you mentioned, we have a long history of great goalkeepers. It's one of the many things that we're known for. I think it first starts with the culture that the coaching staff has developed. Having Stuart Dobson, which I consider to be one of the best goalkeeper coaches in the country. He's coached at a high level for a long time. He gets the most out of his guys as well. And him having belief in the keepers that we bring in here goes a long way. I think the other thing is we've brought in talented goalkeepers who have been fringe MLS or first division, whether it's here domestically or in other countries. And they've made the most out of their time here. I think with that being said, we've also always had a very strong back line, which definitely helps the goalkeepers out as well. So I think, you can look at a number of different things that might come into play or a number of reasons why we've had such great goalkeepers. But I think it really comes down to the culture that we've created inside this building, the coaching staff that we have in place, and then the players really working together with that back line of the defense and just getting the most out of those individuals.
Speaking of the defense, I mean, we had him on the program a couple months ago. Forrest Lasso coming back is such a huge, huge thing for Team Tampa Bay as a whole. I mean, just love the guy. And the fact that he was so involved, he was out all year last year, but he was everywhere. He was at the games. He was in social media. He was just everywhere. And for him to be able to come back and just, he got really emotional about it too. And he's just such a great human being. And the way that his perspective on life and soccer, how important is it going to be able to have him anchoring the back line? Because some of your most successful seasons in the last decade or so have been with Forrest back there.
Yeah, absolutely. And listen, Forrest, first and foremost, like you just mentioned, he's a great person, great individual. And I think that's what differentiates our club from maybe a lot of others out there. And that's not a knock on the other clubs. We want good football players, but we also want good individuals that will embrace the community, be involved in the community. And he does a great job of that. Being a veteran in the locker room is huge for us as well. While he was injured last year, he still brought that same fire into the locker room before each match, after the matches. He traveled with us during the playoffs, and he was around the team. And a lot of guys look up to him and feed off of his fire and his emotion. So it's been great to see him rehab, and looking forward to seeing him back on the pitch at some point this year. With that being said, we've also brought in some other great defenders as well to just re-solidify that back line. It's hard to replace somebody like Jordan Doherty, who went over to Europe. this offseason, but to be able to bring in somebody like Lawrence Wyke, who was here in the past, has MLS experience, did a fantastic job for Phoenix last year in our league, and to be able to put him on the back line, along with bringing back Robert Castellanos, who we had on loan in 2022 from Nashville. He has about 54 appearances with Sporting Kansas City in the last couple of years in Major League Soccer. To have him in that center back role along with Forrest, it really just allows us to have a strong force when it comes to our back line of defense on top of our captain, Aaron Gein.
Yeah, Aaron, Aaron is one of the I can't wait. I got to have him on the show soon, because Aaron, when you meet Aaron, he's like this quiet, nice guy, laugh, beautiful smile, great hair. And then you see him on the pitch and he's fiery as all hell, because I'm like wondering, like, how come when I first saw him, I'm like, why is he the captain? And then all of a sudden, like, I see him and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's why he's the captain. Like, he really is. Like, he's a fiery dude, isn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. And, he's been great for us. And I think when you look at the Rowdies as a whole over the last 5 or 6 years, we haven't been able to keep everyone, but we've been able to keep a core of players together, right, which is huge in second division soccer. So the Aaron Geins, the Lewis Hiltons, the Leo Fernandez, and to be able to build off of that, bringing back Forrest and having him as part of the club. There's buy-in from the new players from the moment that they walk into the building and get a good understanding of how we operate things around here. And they welcome the new guys with open arms. And again, we're excited for this year.
Talk to me about Leo, because obviously missing all the time a couple of years ago, coming back. And then last year was a little bit of a stop and start for him. But we're talking about a guy that, like, when he's on the ball and you can, because you listen to some of the other broadcasts throughout the year when you watch them on wherever it is, like ESPN Plus usually, and you listen to the other broadcast teams talk about the impact that he has. Like, he's got a reputation around the league of, especially when he was coming off the bench, like, oh my gosh, this is a guy that can change the game. And we saw it with some of the, moments that he had last year. How important is it going to be for you guys, and how imperative to your success is it going to be to kind of get him, whether it's playing a dedicated position, whether it's a 10 or whether it's out, like, where do you see that as far as the importance of your team, and where do you think he's going to play this year? I know it's hard to tell because you're not the coach, but I mean, I think, like, with a guy like that, he's the MVP of the league. If you guys are going to try to achieve the lofty goals and he's back, he's going to have to probably be a big part of this thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think with Leo, right, he's good on the ball, he's good off the ball, but he's also a veteran player. He's become smarter. He knows his positioning on the field. He has great awareness. And again, a lot of the guys look up to him. I think the uniqueness of this year and heading into this year is, as you look at our roster that we've built over the last 3 or 4 months, we're really starting to get to a spot where we feel pretty good in almost every position. We're almost too deep. Which means we can interchange players, we can rest players, and we can get creative with our formations and our lineups. The one thing I saw Leo, I met with him a couple of weeks ago, and I didn't mention to him that I would say this on air, but I don't mind saying it, is he told me every year he has a good preseason and he feels like he's clicking on all cylinders, he usually puts together a really good season. So I asked him how he felt, and he said, I feel really good right now. So I think, last year at this time, he was still recovering from the Achilles injury. And then, like you mentioned, it was a little stop and go throughout the season. But I know he's put in a lot of effort during the off season to make sure that his body's ready, to make sure they can play a lot of minutes. And just by some of the training sessions that I've seen so far, he's putting in the work, and he's going to make an impact for this club.
What about little Leo? I mean, do you guys sign him to a future contract yet?
We might have to, right? So I just saw him a couple of days ago out here kicking the ball around, and he has that field awareness, and he has that touch on the ball, just like Dad, just a younger version of him.
That's a beautiful thing. 50 years of Tampa Bay Rowdy soccer. I mean, how exciting is that? Like, what's the overall excitement from the entire organization as a whole as we embark on just another year? And also after everything, the uncertainty of where you guys played at the end of last year, and like it's got to be nice, Ryan, to be able to kind of take a deep breath and be like, all right, 2025, clean slate. Let's do this thing.
Yeah, we're looking forward to the 50th anniversary. I'm looking forward to, knock on wood here, a year where we get to play all of our matches at Al Lang Stadium. And I think that's really exciting for the fans. I mean, listen, when you look at the overall scope of the 50 years, being the first professional sports team to represent the Tampa Bay region, predating the Bucks, the Rays, the Lightning, starting here in 1975. And then one of the most unique things about it is a lot of these players who are here in the 70s, they're still here today. And then you think of the legends who have worn the Rowdies jersey and have represented this community, the Perry Vanderbecks, the Mike Connells, the Rodney Marshes, the Steve Wagerleys. I mean, you could go on and on and on. We had Clyde Best out for a match last year. And then you look at the modern era of players as well, from your Jeff Antonellas, a local guy who won a championship with us as goalkeeper and then had a successful MLS career, the Luke Mahallans, the Georgie Hristovs, the Joe Coles, right? The Neil Collins. Like, you could just go on and on about these guys. And I think from the front office standpoint in this building, there's a sense of responsibility, right? To always understand where we came from as an organization and the individuals who have laid the foundation before us. And it's our job to continue an upward trajectory for the organization. But there's also a sense of pride. And I think that's something that we're all really excited about. We're going to have different things and different activations sprinkled in all throughout the year that fans can participate in. But the three major games that we're going to focus on 50th anniversary, and those games are going to be all about recognizing the individuals who have laid the foundation before us, is April 26th. That's going to be our anniversary night. So that's our third home match of the season. We most likely will be inducting 1 to 2 more individuals into our 75-10 club, which is like the Ring of Honor. So that's going to be really cool. Also, it just so happens that we're playing on the same date, April 26th, as the first outdoor soccer match in Rowdies history. 50.
Wow.
Right. So that lined up pretty well. Saturday, August 16th, we're going to be playing Phoenix Rising, and that's going to be our original era night. So we're going to have a lot of the guys out here and even some of the front office staff from the 75 team and some of the players throughout the 70s. And then on October 4th, we're going to have a modern era night where we bring back a lot of the guys who were part of the regime in 2010 all the way up to today. So, throughout the year, though, we're going to have former players at the games being recognized, signing pregame autographs, photo opportunities, and we're just really excited for what the year ahead brings. We're also excited to have a competitive team that we're putting out on the field. So.
And you just never know what's going on, because we had Asamoah Gyan out there last year, which was so great. One of the most famous soccer players from Africa ever. And after I got a chance to meet him and talk to him, like, I just went back and started watching videos and highlights. I'm like, this guy is a freaking monster.
Yeah,
it's just incredible. So yeah, April 26th. The anniversary 75-10 club, getting some new inductees there. August 16th against Phoenix, the original era, and then October 4th, the modern era as well. You mentioned a guy in Neil Collins, and we just saw the news a couple of months ago that he's back in the USL Sacramento. It's hard to speculate, but I was joking around, and a couple of my family members are asking, like, Neil's back, and I'm like, his family probably was like, hey, we're used to the sun, and now we're in England and Scotland. Like, it's just so great. I messaged him, and I'm just so glad that he's back. But it's just like, you get used to the sun. I think the wife and kids are like, yeah, I think we're happy to be in Sacramento.
Yeah, absolutely. So I had the chance to touch base with Neil and have stayed in contact with him, and I know his family is super excited to be back in the United States. I think probably the best part of our conversation is when he told me when he comes to visit us on September 6th, when we host Sacramento Republic, his kids want to wear their Rowdies jersey. So I'm happy that they're still Rowdies fans. That will be probably the only night throughout the year where we're not in agreement on some things, and right. We'll step-toe that line, right? But or tiptoe that line, I should say. But yeah, looking forward to having him back in the league. Sacramento has a great manager, and I'm sure that they're going to be a force to be reckoned with come this year.
So the first 4 games of the season, all on the road, in March 8th, 15th, and 22nd, Las Vegas, Tulsa, Miami, and then Charleston, April 5th, and then Loudoun United, their first home game, April 12th. Again, all the information, rowdiessoccer.com. Before I let you go, how exciting is the U.S. Open Cup? I mean, you guys automatically in the 3rd round here, and this is an opportunity for you guys to go out there and play some different teams. And I think your team, when you talk about being too deep at all these different positions, and cup games are crazy. I don't know what it is, but all over the world, you can play your league games and it can be pretty standard, but cup games, regardless of what country you're in, you can see some crazy things. How exciting is it to be able to have the U.S. Open Cup and an opportunity to go out there and make some noise?
Anytime you have a chance to add hardware, especially with a tournament as historic as the U.S. Open Cup, the guys get up for it. The staff gets up for it. So we're excited about it. We're excited for our chances. You look back on last year, we hosted Birmingham. We had a 5-4 thriller. Definitely didn't want it to be a thriller. We were up 3-4 goals with about 10 minutes left, and it went to extra time, and it took a bicycle kick from Manu Arteaga to bring that one home. And then we played FC Dallas in the next round. And if you just look at the stats on paper, you would have thought that we had that match in the bag. But that's the way football goes, right? It's a cruel sport. So I think we outshot them 30-5 or 6. And we ended up losing that match by 1-0. So again, there's opportunities, there's excitement with the tournament. There's a lot of what they call cup sets, and we look forward to shaking the tree a little bit this year in that tournament. And then also this year, new to the USL Championship, we have the Interleague Jägermeister Cup. So that's another domestic tournament that's between League One and USL Championship. You get put into groups based on your region. Couple teams will come out of each group, head into a knockout stage, and then obviously semifinals and finals. And there's a cash prize at the end of that as well. So there's a couple of domestic tournaments. Would love to go for the treble, right? But we'll take any hardware that comes our way, and I know the guys are up for it too.
Listen, as a kid that grew up on the 99 United treble team, you say the words treble, man, and I'm like, I am all ears. And I remember that game against Birmingham because it was a weekday, right? Weekday, it was a Wednesday night. I was at softball, and I was watching the game on my phone, and I was like, man, they got this in the bag. And then we went into the field and came back, and I was like, what the hell happened? And then you guys won, and I was like, I got to go back and figure out what the hell happened here, because cup games, they take on a life of their own, man. They do. Unbelievable. Rowdiessoccer.com. Go check out all the information on there. Camps, tickets, everything, the youth projects they have, little and junior Rowdies, everything, match day stuff so you can know before you go. All the information about the roster and the staff and stats and news, scheduling, tickets, again, everything. It's the 50-year anniversary for our Rowdies. It is insane, and nobody better to talk to than our guy, club president Ryan Helfrick. Ryan, you're the man. I love you, and we'll talk soon, my man. Can't wait. Before you know it, it's going to be coming at us fast and furious with all these matches at Al Lang. Thank you, brother. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Keep up the good work, Jay. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, pal. That is a busy man, Ryan Helfrick, club president for our Tampa Bay Rowdies. What a good dude. He's been so accommodating and so nice to me and my family. Just a great human being. And when a guy like that is successful, there's no shock to it. There's no surprise that he's as successful as they are. And just the team as a whole. If you've never been to a Rowdies game, and I'm just like hoping that my parents are going to be in town during one of these times when that happens, because they've never been, and I want to take them so bad. So they've been to the Valspar. The next thing that they got to do, they got to come to a Rowdies game because it just doesn't get much better than that. If you saw the news earlier today, Charlie Strong hired as the new defensive line coach for our Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That is just so much fun. I can't wait to see what the rest of the people here in the Bay Area have to say about that. Happy birthday to Vita Vea. Some big names, man. Vita Vea, Cristiano Ronaldo, Neymar, Carlos Tevez. Happy birthday to all those big stars around the country and around the world. That is for sure. Again, tomorrow, no Lightning game for me. I will be at USF. I can't tell you guys enough. Go usfbulls.com. Go get those tickets. Be in the building tomorrow night at the Yuengling Center. It is Love Wins the Whiteout, supporting Amir Abdur Rahim, his family. Everybody's going to be there. If you're going to go to one game this year, again, go to the Yuengling Center tomorrow night. And then Friday, I got USF and Michigan softball, so it's probably just going to be a shorter show, maybe just like 90 minutes on Friday, but I will be live. We will talk to Jordan Listro tomorrow on the program from the Tampa Bay Sun, one of their standout players, and also a USF grad, Eddie Encina, for his weekly visit as well. Martin Gramatica is there in New Orleans, Radio Row. He's going to join us either tomorrow or Friday. He's checking his schedule. He'll get back to me. And of course, I got irons in the fire. We'll speak with other people as well. A big thank you to everybody that joined us on the program today. We're going to start with USF men's basketball guard, Jayden Reid, my guy. So happy to talk to him. Erik Erlendsson from lightninginsider.com and Ryan Helfrick, the club president of our Tampa Bay Rowdies. Follow me at Recher, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, everywhere, and like and subscribe on YouTube as well. I got softball tonight, but before that, the Beckles and Recher podcast coming up at 3 p.m. today. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you go and support us and check us out there because God knows what we're going to get into. I know we're going to talk Myles Garrett. We're going to talk about a bunch of different things, but we always have a lot of fun there over at the Dignitary Tea and Kava House and Smoke Shop, 4817 Southwest Shore Boulevard. We'll be live in about an hour and 15 minutes, so make sure you lock it right here, and we're going to have a ton of fun. But as far as the J Recher podcast goes, we'll see you tomorrow at noon right here. Everybody have a wonderful Wednesday. Pindingo's up. Everybody be well. Take care. Comb your hair.